It's time for TWiT This Week in Tech. Jason Hiner of Tech Republic, Mark Milian of Bloomberg Business Week are here. We're going to talk about a whole lot of stuff, including that DNS Changer malware that's going to break the internet tomorrow, Apple's lawsuit against Samsung, and a whole lot more. Stay tuned. TWiT is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Audio bandwidth for This Week in Tech is provided by the new Winamp for Android, featuring wireless sync and one-click iTunes import. Now with free daily music downloads and full-length CD listening parties. Download it for free at winamp.com/Android. Video bandwidth for TWiT is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 361, recorded July 8th, 2012. It will never get better. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Squarespace.com. Squarespace.com is the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, go to Squarespace.com and use the offer code TWIT7. And don't forget, they now offer free domain name registration with annual plan subscriptions. And by Stamps.com. Start using your time more effectively with Stamps.com. Buy and print real U.S. postage the instant you need it right from your desk. For our special offer, visit Stamps.com now. Click on the radio microphone and use the promo code TWIT. And by Ford, featuring My Ford Mobile smartphone app for electric vehicles. The My Ford mobile app makes the electric driving experience fun and efficient. Learn more about Ford electric vehicles at ford.com/technology. And by Carbonite Online Backup. Automatic, continuous, unlimited backup for your computer files, just $59 a year. Try it free at Carbonite.com and use the offer code TWIT to get 2 bonus months with purchase. It's time for TWiT, This Week in Tech, the show that covers your tech news and information, and we've got a great little panel. And I say little because it's a little smaller than it usually is today. We asked Adam Curry. Turns out he's getting married today. I don't understand how that happens. But that's all right, because we got Mark Milian. You're not getting married today.
Well, in a couple hours.
In a couple. Good. Yeah. Mark Milian is here.
Pushed it back.
He's from Bloomberg Business Week. I'm sorry. I can't help it. Every time I say Bloomberg, I just feel like Bloomberg. It just rolls off the tongue.
Right off the tongue.
Yeah. And also here, Jason Hiner from the Tech Republic, techrepublic.com. Hi, Jason.
Hey.
He's in Louisville today.
That's right.
CBS Interactive is your official overarching moniker. But
Yes,
you're
sir.
the editor-in-chief of Tech Republic.
I am indeed.
We should give him a little credit for that, too. That's something. Did you start Tech Republic?
I did not start Tech Republic. I was there from the beginning.
Yeah, you've been there for ages.
For very early on, 11 years. I like to say I never thought it would last this long or be this much fun.
Wow.
So, yeah, I've been around.
There's something about bloggers that are just, they're a little weird. They're a little different. Is that not the case?
A little weird.
When you meet bloggers, sometimes, I think of people like Arrington, MG Siegler, Robert Scoble, people who are really known for being bloggers. They're all kind of twisted. You seem normal, Jason. How did that happen?
Thank you. I don't know. I'm not sure how really normal.
Stayed
I am,
away from the Bay Area.
Maybe that's it. There's also what makes a good, and these are all the most successful bloggers. What makes a really good blogger is somebody who's kind of obsessed and has to post like. I think look at somebody like MG. I don't know a lot of them in person. Scoble and MG, I know they're always thinking about what's my next. I got to file that. I got to file that. MG's on vacation. They've been on vacation. They've been in the south of France. He's filing.
Yeah.
He's battling.
He is. He's in a fight. Like, MG, take a rest. Apparently, he tweeted, I made up stuff at TechCrunch as a honey trap to catch people. I would make up it's a short tweet. I'll have to find it, but it's a very short tweet. I made up facts. And then somebody, we won't go into detail, but somebody writes a blog post based on the whole thing. Like, MG Siegler made up stuff. And that means anything he says you can't trust. And, of course, MG gets in a big battle with this person. To me, that's what makes a blogger. It's somebody, it's just like everything's personal.
Totally.
It's hard to have an opinion about everything, and to
I don't know. I have an opinion about everything. It started with Marco Arment of Instapaper, and he tweeted. He was talking about. So he wrote a blog post. He was the one who discovered, because it happened to Instapaper, that App Store binaries are crashing on launch. Apple had trouble with its App Store. Something was wrong with the server. And a lot of applications, people would download the update. And he said, last night, within minutes of Apple approving my 4.2.3 update of Instapaper, I was deluged by support email and Twitter messages from customers saying it crashed immediately on launch, even with a clean install. And so he was worried and so forth. And it turns out it was an Apple server problem. So he wrote a big, long blog post. And then, as often happens in the blogosphere, everybody's got a file. And he then kind of slammed a number of news outlets like The Next Web. He slammed Gizmodo. He slammed The Verge. All for basically picking up his story without attribution. Now, you've both been on short leads. You always have worked. You worked for the LA Times, CNN. I'm talking to Mark Milian and Bloomberg. So you've always worked for kind of more mainstream media. They have different standards, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it varies from place to place, but at least at Bloomberg, the rule is to attribute everything and link and
right.
Yeah, I mean, if we didn't break
the
story, we say it was reported earlier by X.
I'm trying to. So whenever we do a story, I say, Andrew Beaujean is writing in Pointer. This is actually a good article at pointer.org about this whole furor.
This is a little unusual, though, especially for those sites, Engadget and The Verge. They always put that. I mean, it's sort of
they'll
kind
source
of like
it at the bottom.
It's like at the very bottom that no one ever looks at. It's like via
there's a little link.
Whoever. Yeah.
You know what I really hate? And I don't know if The Verge does it, but Engadget does it terribly. They'll have a link to what they reported in somewhere, and it's a link back to their own page. It's always links.
Yeah, because they cover everything.
Right. They never get back to the original. It's always more links to their sites. I understand. Page views are the currency here. So, I'm just looking at the tweet. Mashable was decent, says Marco Arment, adding some original reporting. Gizmodo only cites The Verge, and The Verge, of course, got its story from Marco. So MG Siegler responds, they're friends. I used to love to plant one really weird bit of random information, sometimes even false, into stories to catch the rewrites. Now that, by the way, is something that map makers have been doing for centuries. Because you couldn't really, maps were notorious for getting copied. So they'd put a fake island or place or street, I think they still do it, in their maps. And then if somebody else came out with a map of the same thing, they'd look and see if that island or street or place was there. And if it was, you stole it. So it's a time-honored thing, although you got to think in an article you probably shouldn't put falsehoods.
Yeah.
So then BetaBeat, Adrian Jeffries in BetaBeat, and this was really what got MG upset, wrote a whole blog post, unreliable narrators. TechCrunch blogger inserted random information, sometimes even false, into posts. Picture of MG from his LinkedIn. Not a lot of original research. MG got all upset.
I mean, they at least reached out to him. He didn't respond right away.
He was on vacation.
Talked to some other people in the industry.
This is to me part of what I love about the blogosphere, but also part of where it gets overheated really crazy because of this, and it's because the cycles are so fast.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think most people outside of the industry care. Yeah,
it's just us.
We're leading with the story. I don't think most of the listeners are.
You're right. All right, you're right. Thank you, Mark Milian, for saying this.
Not to shut it down and just.
No. I shouldn't.
But the Apple issue that sparked all of this is news. I mean, Apple really downplayed this technical problem, which was completely on their end. Developers submitted updates. They tried to put some DRM on it automatically.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, so they have this automatic DRM system that you submit an app update, their servers inject some code into it, and then it goes onto the store. And that mechanism was failing for a little while. And they really downplayed this in the statement to All Things D that you just pulled up.
Ina Fried, who seems to have very good, this is another thing. it's all about your sources, right? And Ina has somehow become Apple has some people they talk to, and Ina is one of these people.
Yeah, All Things D has a pretty good
pipeline there.
Apple.
Apple says it fixed server bug that led to crashing apps. We had a temporary issue, Apple said, that began yesterday with a server that generated DRM code from some apps being downloaded. The issue has been rectified. We don't expect it to occur again. It is really embarrassing, though. Goodreader was impacted, Instapaper, because people assume that you did something wrong. It's your app that's crashing.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, a lot of customers were leaving 1-star reviews and kind of tanking.
Now, Apple said that they're going to let those reviews, they're going to clear those reviews out. So we hope that they do that. So they're right. That's the bigger story. But I know MG, so I'm going to cover that one. No, it wasn't going there, but we started talking about bloggers, and then that kind of.
Oh yeah, totally.
That kind of came up. Yep. How do you handle that at Tech Republic, Jason? I mean, there is a very intense. Is there a pressure? Do you guys have pressure to be first?
We don't. I mean, again, TR is more, Tech Republic is more trade pub.
So you don't have to worry so much.
Yeah, ZDNet now is news, and you know they're trying to get first all the time.
Right.
You know, Larry Dignan talks about speed kills, right? And he says that to everybody that
it's
that
so
works
easy to make mistakes if you're trying to rush that story out.
Yep.
Mm. It's so hard.
Yep.
I'm reading Walter Cronkite's the biography of him that just came out, which is great. I highly recommend it, by a guy named Brinkley, but not the same. And they tell a story early in his career. He was working at a radio station in Kansas City, WMCO, or is it KMCO? And the owner of the station's wife called and said, "There's been a terrible fire. 2 firemen have been killed." And the owner comes to Walter Cronkite, who is I think he's 18. He's very young. He's 19. He's very young. And says, "Walter, you got to go on the air immediately and report the story." And Cronkite says, "I'm not going to say it unless I can confirm it." And the owner says, "You have to say this." "No, I don't. I have to confirm it." He fought the guy. The guy went on the air himself, reported it. It turned out that it was a minor fire. Nobody was hurt. Nobody died. It was completely wrong. Cronkite was right. Fires Cronkite the next day. And
wow.
Yeah, isn't that? It's a great story from his early days. And that's one of the things Cronkite was so famous for was, I am going to fact check this. Boy, we need that kind of standard today, I got to say.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
he was the most trusted voice for many years.
And why do you think? Because of that.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great way to start your career? 19 years old, he dropped out of college. He's working in radio, and this was in the 30s. It's brand new. There's no such thing as radio journalism. He said, "I'm not going to say it unless I can confirm it." All right, so now I'm going to say a bunch of rumors that have no confirmation whatsoever. So,
All right, rumor mill.
Let's start with the Bloomberg Business Week report. Amazon, according to your colleague, Tim Culpin, Olga Karif, and Ashley Vance, planning a smartphone to vie with the iPhone. This is, according to this story, Foxconn is working with Amazon on the device. Of course, they're sourcing it, unnamed sources. Does that make sense? Does Amazon really want to make a smartphone? They're making the Kindle, which has been a success, the Kindle Fire for them. Do they want to compete with Apple? What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, so this is, I totally believe that they are, or at least I would not be surprised if they are, and it makes sense in a couple ways, and it doesn't make sense in a couple others. So obviously it makes sense. They've set up the ecosystem, right? The apps they have content. That's what a lot of people are doing on these devices. They could do that stuff well. That's why a tablet made sense, and they got off to a decent start with the Kindle Fire. But the thing is there's 10 or 20% of the things they're going to have to do really well that are going to be just way out of their league, which is working with carriers, making sure that they have great call quality on these things, setting up a messaging infrastructure now, because the sort of BBM, iMessage kind of thing, you're going to have something along those lines, right? There's some third party they could promote maybe instead. But anyway, there's these things that they're going to have to do that are so tangential to their business model and what they want to be about, and being able to sell this device inexpensively and basically just make money on the content. That stuff is so out of their league, and a tablet made a lot of sense because they could avoid most of that. once you get into a phone, you have to deal with all this other stuff, and that I think could be a step too far for them.
Of course, I said that when we heard that Apple was going to do a phone. I said, why would they want to get into that business? Boy, was I wrong on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they had some problems getting the innards right, the antenna working, and the iPhone was a terrible phone for at least the first couple iterations and making phone calls.
Yeah, and in fact, it was the relationships. They only had one carrier because they couldn't get the other carriers to take the iPhone. Verizon famously turned it down. There's something, though, that's new in the mix that is a big, big part of it, and your colleagues in Bloomberg point this out. Now it's all about patents. You look at Samsung, Apple is just, Apple has blocked the Samsung Galaxy Nexus. Actually, that stay is temporarily lifted, but they've got a block on the Samsung Galaxy Tab. You've got Motorola suing Apple. If you don't have a patent portfolio, this is what's sad, because I'd love to see Amazon enter the fray. I'd love to see some competition. I'd love to see some choice. But you can't, because you'll be sued out of existence because you don't have the patents.
It's a good point.
Yes,
very good point.
They are addressing that as was reported. They have made some patents in the small gadget space. One of the most interesting ones, which they won't be able to sue anybody over because nobody's doing this right now, but they filed for a patent where if you drop the phone, a parachute comes out.
No.
And Jeff Bezos is named on that patent.
Oh my gosh.
They only patented that because the boss said, hey, I got a good idea. And instead of saying, boss, you're drunk, they said, oh, yeah, right, Jeff? Good idea. Let's patent a parachute for the phone. Good if you're in a plane and you drop it.
Amazon doing a phone, the best news might be for Nokia or BlackBerry, right? RIM. Because they're both sitting on gold mines, two gold mines of mobile patents, and both of the companies are looking increasingly unable to innovate their way out of the funk that both of them are in, and that patent could be in a fire sale the best things they've got going.
And Amazon could afford to pick it up. They apparently, according to the article in Bloomberg, hired Matt Gordon. He was the senior director of acquisitions at Nathan Myhrvold's patent troll company, Intellectual Ventures. So this is a guy who specializes in acquiring patents for just this reason. That sounds like Amazon is interested. And they do have patents. They have the one-click patent. I mean, that's a good patent. They've actually done that. I think they've done a nice job with that, using it defensively but not offensively, as they could against competing retailers.
Yeah.
Amazon has been involved in 5 patent-related cases this year and 20 last year. So
here's the other thing that could be a problem with the Amazon doing a phone is the Kindle Fire, sold like gangbusters out of the gates. But sales of that thing has really fizzled. And a lot of that has to do with a lot of people bought them and aren't using them. As you can see, if you look at usage numbers, like browser usage numbers, there are not lots of Kindle Fires connecting to the web in as large as numbers as there should be, considering how many were actually sold. And so you have this tablet that people aren't really using, and so I don't know, they're not setting the world on fire with the device that they've got out there. And supposedly they have a 10-inch tablet, or at least a revision to the 7-inch Kindle Fire, or both, in the pipeline. And so this is one of those areas where they may be getting a little too big, stretching themselves too fast, because I think the Kindle Fire has a lot of potential. There's some interesting things with that, but they probably should focus on making that really good first before getting hot and heavy on the phone, because that you're just going to introduce so much more complexity to and things they're going to have to do well. Here's the other interesting thing I thought about the Kindle Fire that's come up with the Kindle Fire. I think the Kindle Fire has sold as many e-ink Kindles as tablets.
Oh, interesting.
As you look at the Kindle Fire,
right.
I've seen this. A number of people look at the Kindle Fire and they're asking themselves, should I buy this? Because this is real inexpensive tablet. They look at the Kindle Fire and then they say, what do I want to do with it? It's like, well, I want to read, and then I maybe read some websites, and I just want to check some email once in a while. But it's like, okay, do I need to use this in full sunlight? And it's like, yeah, I do. And it's like, well, for mail, I've already got a smartphone. If I already have a smartphone, I can check my mail on the smartphone. I can check my, a couple websites there. I'm just going to get the regular Kindle because,
right.
because that makes sense. I can just read on that thing. I've seen at least about half a dozen people go through this, you know, I want to say in the last couple months, where they've, you know, were thinking about the Kindle Fire and ended up getting the regular Kindle instead in almost every case. So I think secretly this thing is actually helping them overall fuel their business. But,
that makes. I mean, 79 bucks. That little e-ink Kindle is cheap. It's effective. Does everything you want. Now, I got to say, the Nexus 7, Google's new 7-inch tablet's got to be a threat to the Kindle Fire. It's the same price, and it's better. It's faster. Looks better. It's real Android, so you can put real apps on it. So I think maybe Amazon, you ought to pay attention to keeping the Fire up to date and worry less about phones.
I think they just want to, you know, have a way to keep everyone within their ecosystem as much as possible.
That's what the Fire was to do, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, they're selling it at a loss, according to analysts. So,
and that's exactly what, interestingly, Google's doing with its own Nexus 7. Google says we don't make any money on it. It's all about the Play Store.
Asus doesn't make any money on it.
Oh, Google might. That's right.
And Google doesn't make any money on Android for the most part at all.
They don't need to.
Yeah.
They make money on other stuff.
But making a phone is really not that big a leap for Amazon. I'm not worried about messaging infrastructure. They have some of the strongest server infrastructure of anybody out there, and they're used by thousands of developers.
You're talking about WhisperNet or?
No, you know, having the technical prowess to handle, you know, messaging and other things that are required for having a phone. They also have the carrier relationship with AT&T for the
WhisperNet
Kindles.
Yeah.
And so the pieces are there.
That's AT&T that carries that network. Yeah. That's the thing where if you read it on one, well, first of all, you can download it. You get 3G, but also if you read it on one, it syncs up with the others.
You pay a little extra up front for the device, and you don't have to pay a monthly fee.
So that's AT&T doing that.
With AT&T.
Interesting.
So I will go one more on the other, you know, play devil's advocate on the other side of the one thing I think Amazon does have going for it, and where I do think they will eventually be a player, you know, in the space, even if I think it might be a little early for them to go into a phone, is they are user experience Nazis. I mean, they are so good at user experience. You look at the site, and they really still have the best, and they don't get credit for it a lot, the best e-commerce, you know, sales experience of any company on the web, and really just one of the best user experiences of anybody on the web. And I do think you're going to see them be able to transfer that to the device space and take some of the stuff they've done. You know, you look at all the things that they've pioneered in terms of, you know, you talked earlier about one-click, Leo. You talk about one-click.
Amazon
look at, you know,
Prime. What a brilliant
exactly.
marketing thing that is.
I mean, it's a good user experience.
All right, I'm going to throw you a monkey wrench. What if the Kindle Fire 2 is the phone? And what if it's not a phone? What if it's using 3G and Wi-Fi and Skype or something like it, Tango, let's say Tango, because Skype's owned by Microsoft, to provide phone-like service? Maybe that's what they're talking about. What about that? Would that be a good product?
It would be disruptive.
I don't think they would have such a tight deal with Skype just because of the whole Microsoft tie-up.
No, it wouldn't be Skype. It could be Tango or something like that.
Yeah, Tango. Okay.
There's plenty of choice. You know, I mean, Google Voice. I got this little thing somebody told me about on the radio show called an Obi. That's a little $40 box that lets me use Google Voice for my home phone. It's so great. Now I don't have to pay for anything, ever. Again, It's all free. Thank you, Google. I don't know. I think this is what I think. Maybe this is the Kindle Fire 2. We're getting distracted by the phone part of it. Maybe it's somebody. I don't know. I think you could do that. I wouldn't be surprised if people using these inexpensive tablets as phones more and more. What do you think? What the Nexus 7 you put
with the Bluetooth headset or something?
Yeah. You don't have to hold it up to your ear.
Yeah, it's true.
I did a story a couple of years ago about people getting MiFis and using the iPod Touch as sort of like a replacement, a cheaper iPhone.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of trouble finding
those people were weirdos.
They were weirdos, and there aren't a lot of them.
No.
I just don't think.
Well, all right. We're going to take a break.
Are going to do everything.
Let's talk about Apple. The drumbeat is stronger and stronger for something that Steve Jobs said we will never, ever, ever in a million years, ever make a 7-inch iPad. Is it true? We'll find out. I got some smart guys. They're going to know. Mark Milian's here from Bloomberg Business Week. And also here, I can't do that with Tech Republic. Tech Republic. Jason Hiner. And you're watching TWiT. We're going to have more in just a moment. If you missed anything, let's run the promo. I want to run the promo off the top because I don't think anybody ever saw this last week. We're going to start doing little short pieces of what you might have missed if you didn't watch TWiT this week.
This is TWiT.
Unofficial Brotherhood of Metallica, instrumental, ha ha ha. However, that is aggressive.
That's Metallica.
That made me feel.
I feel good.
Valve has released something called the Valve Source Filmmaker, which allows you to make better machinima.
Movie sets will suddenly become playable levels for the video game spin-off of this thing.
Google announced a new device called the Nexus, and we have one here. It's called the Nexus Q.
Give me my regular head.
The little orb we have here.
All right, let's finish up with something light. Particle physics. Two boats crash into each other, but you don't see them. You don't know what the boats are. 15% of the time when two boats crash into each other, you see a V-shaped wave, right? And if you see a V-shaped wave 45% of the time, the more data you have, the more certain you are that a Sea-Doo was involved in the crash.
Got drunk on a Sea-Doo and ran into.
That's essentially what's going on with the Large Hadron Collider.
Look at that! It's a brand new show on the TWiT Network. Hello, I as Akhtar.
Leo, I'm glad to be here.
Oh, I am so excited about this show. It's called Know How, ... And each show, we're going to show you how to do something.
Tonito and Pogo Plug both have apps for your phone. For Android, iOS, I believe Tonito Plug has for Windows Phone 7. They have lots of applications for accessing the stuff on the web, or you can just do it on your browsers. Now that you know how, do it now!
We'll see you next time.
We trained the audience for weeks. So actually that was, and somebody, if you missed the explanation of what the Higgs boson discovery was, Tom Merritt with his two boats colliding was probably the best I've heard.
Wow.
Anyway, yes, that was...
That know-how show looks good, too. I'll have to check that out, Leo. I heard you're also doing an enterprise show. I want to check that out.
We are, with a priest. Because we figure he can give the last rights to your server if you can't get it fixed. It'll be perfect. It's kind of a one-stop shop. So this show brought to you by Squarespace.com, the secret behind fantastic websites. More and more people, I think you probably noticed, are using Squarespace.com. It's everything you need to create an amazing website. If you visit Squarespace.com, you'll see they make it very simple to find out what Squarespace has to offer. Their Try It Free button there, that big green button that says, just try. All you need, you don't need a credit card. All you need is a name for the site, a password, your email, and you're good to go. You can use all of the features like the import tool that imports all of your content from the main API's movable type, WordPress, TypePad, Blogger. The great, both web-based and mobile editing. They've got an iOS and Android app that just makes it so easy, not only to post content, but to moderate comments, to take a look at stats, to completely run your site from an iPhone, iPad, or an Android device. Squarespace is really great stuff. This is hosting plus the best software ever to make a great site, not just a blog. I mean, look what the photographers are doing here. Some of these photo sites are amazing. And no two Squarespace sites look alike, thanks to their very creative templating and the ease with which you can work on your site. You don't have to be a CSS expert. Now, of course, if you are, Squarespace has an amazing CSS editor. It makes it very easy. Here's the deal. Try it. You get 2 weeks free. Just click that green button. If you decide to buy, that's when we come in. They've reorganized their pricing plan. It couldn't be simpler. $8 a month for the standard plan when you buy a year. $16 a month for the unlimited plan. And the unlimited plan is unlimited pages, unlimited bandwidth, unlimited storage, and a free custom domain. They do actually any year-long plan. They give you you get a domain name registration, and they'll hook it all up so that you get the custom domain. That's nice. So it's not, your site at squarespace.com. It's yoursite.com. Try it right now. Squarespace.com. If you decide to buy, do get the annual plan because you can get 10% off your first purchase. 10% off the first month if you get a monthly plan, but 10% off the first year if you get an annual plan. That's why it's worth it. When you use the offer code TWIT7, TWIT and the number 7, squarespace.com. Try it free. Use TWIT7 if you decide to buy, and you'll get 10% off. And don't forget, you get that free domain registration. They have good workshops, too. Live webinars. If you go to workshops.squarespace.com, you can learn everything you need to know about it. It's really fantastic.
I've used those guys for 2 years. They're awesome.
Really? For your personal site?
Yeah, jasonhiner.com. I've used it for it has saved me hours of site design, that kind of thing. Also, it saved me time from having to hire. I used to hire some web designers to help me out. Saved me money in web design. Actually, in 2 years, I've played less to Squarespace probably in 2 years than I did to designers like in past. Hate to say that, but
no, it's true. Tell me about it.
It's awesome site. And the tools are so good. It saved me so much time in terms of building site building, new pages, building galleries, all of that. So
very cool.
I'm a believer.
You got a gallery here. I like this. This is a good idea of your iPhone home screens and your.
I need to update them, but
that's a great idea. So you can and see they have the white box. Yeah. What's on your? I think this is cool. I've always liked this. I've always been interested in what's on your home screen. Tells you a lot about somebody. What apps they use all the time.
It sure does.
No, I noticed the Squarespace app is #1 on there. That's good.
It is on there.
Squarespace.com. Use the offer code. Oh, there's Jeff Bezos' patent, by the way. It is not a parachute. It's an airbag.
An airbag,
okay. Well, a parachute, I think that'd be a little hard. But an airbag, boy, you deploy it. Now, it must add considerably to the weight and the complexity of a smartphone to have an airbag. Because, by the way, either you have an airbag on every side or you have built-in jets to orient it. And, in fact, they've decided to have the portable device reorientation element to make sure that the phone comes airbag side down. Otherwise, the airbag just fires it into the concrete. That's no good.
It's true.
Yeah. No side impact airbag.
No, yeah. There's a propulsion element, an absorbing structure, a reinforced side, and a spring. I don't think...
Wow.
This is a lot, man. And I have the feeling that they will never really... I wish there were a picture, though.
I like when there's the little diagrams. I love the patent applications that have the little diagrams in them. They make for great,
There's figures, but it's not in this particular posting.
It's a long document.
Used to be, this is where, software, this is good. This is a traditional patent. I don't like software patents, but it used to be you'd have to bring a model to the patent office of your idea. That's what, here's the images. Maybe we can see the.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, let's just see real quickly.
Oh, is it a video?
I don't know. It's QuickTime.
That would be brilliant if there was a video.
28 pages of figures, but I'm not seeing anything. Of course, this is the United States Patent and Trademark Office. It looks like their website was designed in 1985. Wait a minute. Is that Comic Sans on the left? I think it is. Holy cow. We have a Comic Sans sighting and a non-functional site. What a surprise. That's it, isn't it? Full text. Help, comics. All it needs is a guy in a hard hat digging in an under construction sign.
Yes.
Kind of animated GIF with a mailbox opening. And then it'd be, a perfect site. Yeah, they could use Squarespace. So, Steve Jobs in 2011, it was early in the year, joined an analyst call. Normally, Jobs would not join analyst calls. Maybe you were on that call.
I was.
And he just kind of bursts in and says, hey, it's Steve Jobs here. I just want to say one thing.
He said a lot of things. But yeah.
What did he say?
He went on a long rant. I don't remember. I do remember specifically the tablet complaint. I think he also, took some knocks at RIM and Nokia for having trouble in phones and not being able to get developers on. But the tablet in particular, he said 7 inches is not big enough to do a good apps on a tablet, and that
he said
users would need to sandpaper their fingers down in order to use a 7-inch tablet.
I think we have audio. I think I've got audio on my computer. I don't know if you can.
Thanks, Peter. Hi, everybody. As most of you know,
he's reading.
I don't usually participate in Apple's earnings calls since you're all in such capable hands with Peter and Tim.
But I'm pissed.
But I just couldn't help dropping by for our first $20 billion quarter. I'd like to chat about a few things and then stay for the rest of the Q.
This is unheard of. He never ever does this. I want to find. I don't know where it was in the call where he starts talking about the 7 inches. Yeah, this is
with a smartphone and too small to compete with an iPad. Fourth, almost all of these new tablets use Android software, but even Google is telling the tablet manufacturers not to use their current release.
Let's go a little bit back. He really, to me, when you hear a CEO call in an analyst call to go on and on about the competition, That's the kind of thing that tells you the competition's actually getting to them.
Of how close you can physically place elements on a touchscreen before users cannot reliably tap, flick, or pinch them. This is one of the key reasons we think the 10-inch screen size is the minimum size required to create great tablet apps.
The minimum size required. He said, we will never, he used the word never, make a 7-inch tablet.
He also said they weren't working on a tablet when they were. He said that they wouldn't do books because nobody
reads books anymore. Yeah.
He also said that you'd never have video on a iPod screen because it's too small. Yeah. I know. But this is a little different. This is an analyst call. This isn't like some interview with the press. This is making... So here's the thing. Now, I've seen a post. In fact, I saw a post today that said, oh, no, if it doesn't mean that they're denying what Steve said. It's just that Steve lives on. And if the guy actually said in this post, if Steve were looking down from heaven, he'd be blessing this 7-inch tablet. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's much more likely this is Tim Cook saying, hey, Steve's gone. It's my company. We see the Fire doing well. Not that well. iPad is still, 80 or 90% of the market, right? We were worried maybe a little bit about the Nexus 7. I don't know. If Apple is indeed doing a 7-inch tablet, and I'm not convinced they are, why are they, Jason?
One reason, cost. I think it's $350. If they can sell a tablet at $300 to $350, then they probably wipe up a lot of the rest of the tablet market, right? I gotta think that's the reason. I also think that maybe the thinking is that there's some product for them that's kind of like a little bigger iPod Touch, where they can get 5 inches, 7 inches, 8 inches, and maybe they can take a lot of they can migrate those people that were buying iPod Touches, because a lot of those people, those iPod Touches, the top end of that product, right, was $400 at one point. At the cheapest, even it's like $299. I think it's like, can we take that market and migrate them to a tablet? And keep cash and checks, and basically not do anything different than we're doing with the iPad, the regular iPad. Because I think if they're going to do this, they're going to make it the same screen kind of resolution, so the apps essentially are the same. Nobody has to.
That's a good point, because there's another thing Apple hits Android about is fragmentation. There's too many screen sizes. Even on that call. Yeah. So there's another good reason. And so so you're saying, what will the resolution be? The same as?
It would be the same as
the iPhone?
The old iPad.
1024 by 768. Which is,
yes.
Now, the Nexus 7 is 1280 by 720. It's full HD resolution. Is that right? 1280 by 720, yeah.
Is it 16 by 9?
Yeah, it's 16:9. So you're saying Apple make a squarish one, a 4:3 one?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they've always done the squarish with the iPad, with the iPhone.
That's interesting.
But I think they'll do it so that they don't have to, so they're not fragmenting.
1280 by 800. That's what it is,
yeah, exactly. So they'll do it so that something like they'll do like what Mark said, that like the resolution of the old iPad, so that all the apps that are tablet apps now, you'll be able to run them on the little one if they are doing a little one. So
that would make sense. So it's 1024. So it's 1024 by 768. So it's the same size resolution as the iPad 1 and 2. So all of those apps will work. Any retinized apps won't work as well.
Well, I think the Retina apps can down.
They'll scale down.
Yeah.
Because it's 1/2, so that's easy.
Yeah.
What about Steve's complaint that the icons in this text is too small? You have to.
It's on the iPhone. I never got that from the beginning. It's not like people aren't doing them on the iPhone. The apps on the iPhone.
Actually, made no sense. That just shows you the reality distortion field.
Yeah.
It made no sense what he said.
I mean, he did say tablet apps, so okay, fine. The apps are a little better, but so many of the apps are on the phone, or people. It's not like a lot of these apps are tablet only. They're also they're iPhone plus tablet. There are a handful, that are tablet only, but most of these are they're in two sizes, right? And a lot of them are great on the iPhone, or at least almost as good on the iPhone.
So you guys sound like you're pretty convinced that this is going to happen.
I was skeptical for a while. My colleagues just reported something last week, and their sources are solid on that one, that Apple is doing a tablet and planning to release it, and it's going into manufacturing
Both
7 to 8 inches.
Sounds like both in Brazil and China. Foxconn, but also Brazil. That's what Mac Rumors is saying, or Mako Takara. And you know why they do it in Brazil? Apple has a big iPad plant in Brazil, too, is because the taxes are cheaper if you sell it in Brazil. Brazil puts a huge tariff if you make something outside of Brazil.
Foxconn has factories in Brazil. Yeah.
So maybe it is Foxconn, but Foxconn Brazil.
I mean, just think if they sell this thing at $199, and you're a consumer that's not sort of ecosystem tied, right? If you're not already sort of locked down in one of the ecosystems, and you have to choose between the Nexus and the iPad, what are you going to choose, right? A lot of them are going to choose iPad just from name recognition, trust.
Absolutely.
So I just think I think they know that they don't want people nibbling at the bottom of their market share, and they can do it. They could sell it at $199 and still make a pretty good, or maybe $249 and still make pretty good money on it. So I think it makes sense from a business perspective.
You got to add the Apple tax though, so you're competing with $200 products, so you could sell it for $300.
True. They wouldn't do what Amazon did or what Asus and Google is doing and sell it at a loss. I don't see that ever happening. However, Apple, with its giganticness, can undercut everybody because they buy memory, they buy everything in bulk, and they have some of the best deals than any of their competitors in the industry.
I love it when Microsoft announced their Surface. They couldn't make it out of aluminum because Apple had purchased all the aluminum in the world.
So they went with magnesium.
They went with magnesium.
Yeah, totally.
Wait a minute. They bought all the aluminum? Yeah, I'm sorry, Steve. They bought all the aluminum. Well, what else is there? There's magnesium. Okay.
Let's do that.
Let's do that. It's the same stuff that you use to make road flares. That shouldn't be a problem. It'll be fine.
Yeah. No, what Mark's talking about is like the dirty little secret of this whole thing, right? I mean, it's that Apple has such an advantage because of all the RAM and the flash that they buy. You know, they are so far ahead on profit margin of all these other companies because of that, with the exception of Samsung, because Samsung builds their own stuff. But so they're getting it at cost, but they're still selling it to themselves in a sense, right?
Yeah,
because it's one division to the other. But Apple, you know, other than Samsung, you know, Apple has this this huge advantage. It really is the reason why Microsoft had no choice but to make their own tablet, because if they were you know, anything that HP, I think they saw the writing on the wall, anything that HP or Dell and anybody was going to sell, even if it was similar to the iPad, it was going to be $600 at least. There was no way to get around it because of the Windows tax that they were going to have to pay on top of it, plus you know, the fact that they were not going to be able to buy all of these things in huge quantities. Even guys like HP and Dell that buy, you know, already buying plenty of this stuff on their own. They're just not buying it anywhere near the kind of quantities that Apple is. And so, you know, it sets them up for such an advantage. I mean, even at $249, they're going to be making a lot more money on this thing than those other guys are at $199.
Let me ask the chat room. You guys going to buy, if Apple makes a 7.6 8-inch tablet, which everybody, including Bloomberg and All Things D, seems convinced they're going to make, would you buy it, or would you, especially if it were let's say $50 more? Let's say it's $250 or $300.
Yeah, see a lot of no's.
Yes, no, no, no. Mostly no. Would you buy the Nexus 7? I bought the Nexus 7. It's not, you know, I wish the screen were a little bit better. $250, yes. I already have one, so it's one of them. Okay.
A lot of no's. These people aren't buying anything.
Yeah, it's mostly no's. We'll see. I don't know. I traditionally, and this might be something new. This might be it is the Tim Cook era, but traditionally Apple does not even look at what the competition is doing. They don't chase the competition. You know, you see that now so much. Microsoft, you know, afraid of Apple. Facebook afraid of Google. Google afraid of Facebook. They all seem to, you know, Facebook buys Instagram for $1 billion, not because they want it, because they're afraid somebody else will get it. Apple's never done that.
All defensive moves. Yeah, Apple never is on defense. They never feel like they're on defense. They always feel like they're on offense.
So isn't it a defensive move to make a 7-inch tablet?
It is. But it's Steve Jobs isn't in charge anymore.
Yeah. It's a different world. And of course, well, we'll talk about lawsuits. I do want to, there are a couple of other Apple stories that are a little upsetting to me. One is Apple is getting out of the EPEAT, the EPA's environmentally friendly program. Apple was one of the companies involved in creating the EPEAT standard, with the federal government and the EPA for easily recycling and energy-efficient electronics. Apple is now pulling all 39 of its products from the EPEAT certification. Now, iPhone and iPad never were because they were glued together. You could not recycle them. They were not recyclable. And the speculation is that it's the Retina display MacBook that's to blame because it's all glued together. The glass on the screen is glued to the back. The batteries are glued in. You cannot recycle these without special tools. And I just think this is, I understand they did it because the market demanded it. We want thinner, we want lighter, we want better. But do we want it at this kind of a cost to the environment? And I think it's kind of a shame that Apple has decided to pull out of these environmental standards and make what is basically unrecyclable hardware.
Do they offer sort of like, I know they did this with the iPad. You could bring an old iPad in and then they donate it.
Apple, I don't know about the donation, but you pay a recycling fee whenever you buy an Apple product. And in theory, when you bring it to Apple, they recycle it. Now, I don't think Apple wants to withdraw, but I think that they've made a decision here. The U.S. government rules require 95% of the electronics it buys to be EPEAT certified. So you're losing a huge government market. Many companies, Ford, HSBC, and Kaiser Permanente, require that their CIOs purchase computers from EPEAT certified sources. So you're cutting off a big market by doing this. It's pretty clear that Apple has decided more important that we make thin, beautiful stuff than we worry about this recycling. And I think it's a little disappointing.
It's a bad business move long term.
I'm just disappointed. I expected better. They make a big deal. Steve Jobs would always do this. Oh, we're mercury free. We're got EP. We're blah blah blah.
And they actually showed that card at the MacBook
on the
Pro
Retina.
Yeah, at the last.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to hear their response to this, but it sounds to me like.
So I don't think they'll stop saying that they're an environmentally conscious company and all that. But on the other hand,
are they?
Yeah. Well, are they is the question a lot of people have been asking. But when you go to buy advice or you're researching on your computer, do you look to see whether it's EPEAT certified?
I think that's what they're saying.
Almost had never heard of this before
I think
this
that's exactly
announcement.
what they're saying. And they're going to still say green because it's if you don't have a standard, it's meaningless, and they can say it. There is no green standard. There's an EPEAT standard, and they don't want to adhere to that. I think it's a shame.
I do think why I said it's a bad business move is, companies like Ford. I was actually just at Ford a couple weeks ago. They're like doing, they're ready to do iPad deployments and stuff like that. You also have companies in Europe and Asia. They actually care a lot about this stuff, and I think you're going to see more of them. Partly for reasons of self-preservation. Those are areas where it's more people, densely populated, and so some of these things have real consequences, right, for drinking water and other things. And so they really care about these kinds of standards. And so Apple, I think may rethink this at some point. I just can't see them not having to rethink this.
And I say this as somebody who bought the now not recyclable iPad, not recyclable iPhone, and not recyclable MacBook Retina display. Yes, chlorine gas is green. It make you green too.
Somebody in the chat room mentioned Energy Star, which has made a bigger name for itself, I think. Than
But Energy Star is also from the EPA. EPEAT was created with the electronics industry it's a standard for recyclability. Energy Star is a standard for low energy consumption.
Right. I think Energy Star is something that more people pay attention to than EPEAT.
Well, probably right.
I think you're right, though, Mark. There probably aren't a whole lot of people that look and say, oh, this thing doesn't have an Energy Star or an EPEAT on it. It's like, I'm going to go buy the Nexus 7
It's
instead.
not a great name.
The marketing, it's got a marketing problem, huh?
Yeah. One other negative about Apple, the first malware to hit the iOS App Store, a program that's available on both Android and iOS called Find and Call. It was secretly harvesting data from the user's address book. It's a Russian company. Only available in the Russian App Store, Google Play Store, but available globally on the App Store. The app would send information to the developer's server, which would then spam users with text messages. If you've been getting a lot of spam text, maybe that's why. It advertised itself as a tool for aggregating and simplifying contexts. And it's a Trojan. It's a Trojan. The developer, in a statement to appleinsider.ru, said, "Hey, it's bug. We are in process of fixing. Moose and squirrel are fixing now. Don't worry," says Natasha. That's, it's not a surprise. You cannot, when you have that many apps, you cannot really reasonably review them all. It's still a pretty good record that Apple has in the iOS store. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, more Google shutdowns. Some good news if you want to get Windows 8. And Microsoft taking a $6.2 billion write-off on a recent acquisition. We also have some wild stuff. Louis C.K., some good news from Louis C.K., and a 32-year-old who's having a conversation via video with his 12-year-old stuff. Did you see that video yet?
Mm-mm.
Wow, we'll show you that. And the end of the line for Thunderbird, which kind of shocked me. But first, I want to tell you how you could stop going to the post office. How about that? Wouldn't you like to do that with Stamps.com? I've talked about Stamps.com before. I've been using Stamps.com, I think, since they started. I know for a very long time. And we use it here all the time because it's a great thing for a small business. You don't have to have a postage meter anymore. You don't have to go to the post office and wait in line to buy stamps. You just print your postage with your computer and your printer, and you don't need anything special. You just need Stamps.com. Now, you could try. We got a no-risk trial for you to give you a chance to see what it's like. Now, when you go to this page, Stamps.com, you notice it says special offer, $80 value. Click the radio microphone. There's a little old-fashioned Finn microphone on there. And when it asks you for the promo code, just put TWiT, put TWiT in there. Watch this. My happy face pops up. There's a picture of me with brown hair. Where the hell did they get that? And
CNET days.
Yeah, that's when Harsley Miner and I were planning to take over the internet. And that's actually probably when I started using Stamps.com. And we changed that $80 value into a $110 value. That's $55 in postage coupons you can use over a few months. That's a free digital scale. You just pay shipping handling. I think it's $5 for that. You get a supply kit, $5 supply kit to make up for that, and a 4-week trial of Stamps.com. Now, whenever you got to mail something, you just pop it on the scale. It prints out the postage. You can buy, if you like sticky stamps, you can buy the forms for the sticky stamps, but you don't have to. You can print it right on the envelope. Looks good. Looks really pro. It's have your company logo if you want. They also will print, on a piece of paper. You could put on a package. This is cool. If you're doing internationally mailing, they'll do the international postage and even print out all the forms automatically. If you're an eBay or an Amazon seller, it will take the data from the eBay and Amazon pages and give you the mailing address, everything you need. If you use QuickBooks, it'll do your invoices and take all the information from QuickBooks directly. I mean, it really is more than just postage. It's an automation system. It's really great. We love Stamps.com. We know you'd like to try it. That's why we gave you this special deal. A $110 bonus offer. You get the scale. You get $55 in free postage and a 4-week trial at Stamps.com. Remember to click the microphone and use the offer code TWiT to get that extra special offer from Stamps.com. All right, moving on. I like this. Louis C.K., who has really used his clout as a great comic. He's so funny. I've been watching the 2nd season of Louis. That is wild.
The 3rd just started.
I know. I'm catching up. It's on Netflix. I'm
so
catching
good.
Up. Isn't he good? He's kind of breaking the barriers. That's what I like. It's not like TV you ever saw before. I mean, there's a cringe in every episode, isn't there? It's like there's a moment and everybody you go, oh, ah, ooh. But it's real. Anyway, so Louis C.K., he sold a concert online, right? Sold tickets direct. Now he's fighting ticket scalping. He sells there's a huge problem with, and if you've ever been to a recent concert, you can always go to StubHub or somewhere and get tickets for 5 times the face value. There's people, so he decided, I'm not going to sell tickets through the standard Ticketmaster, whatever it is. He's selling the tickets himself, and he's putting this on the page. He's saying, if you try to sell the ticket anywhere for anything above the original price, we have the right to cancel your ticket. We'll give you your money back, but we're going to cancel that ticket. This is something I intend to enforce. He says this is to keep people from just buying the ticket and just flipping it for twice the price from 1,000 miles away. What's the result? Fantastic. He's sold 135,000 tickets to 67 shows. He says that he has cut scalping over 96%. He says of the 135,000 tickets he's sold, there are very few tickets on, less than 500 available on all scalper sites for more than the face price.
Wow.
That's just fantastic.
Wow. Good for him.
I love this guy. By the way, $6 million in tickets. He can buy that. He can buy that $7 million Greenwich Village apartment that he was looking at.
Yeah.
That's a good episode.
That was a good one.
He's looking at this beautiful apartment. He's living in a dump. He's looking at this beautiful apartment. He says, how much? She says, $7 million. And he goes, okay. I'll be back. I feel bad for Best Buy cutting 650 Geek Squad employees. Moving on. Closing stores. Thunderbird. I'm sad about Thunderbird. They're not going to update it anymore. That's the Mozilla Project's great email program. They say it's already perfect.
Yeah.
We don't need to do any more. So we're going to take all the developers off. We'll keep giving you security fixes.
Sort of like what they did for Dig, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Dig.
Took all the developers off, sent them somewhere else.
But it's not gone. We're just not going to do anything. He's is it JB Placentino, the Thunderbird managing director? He said, "We're not stopping Thunderbird, just proposing we adapt the Thunderbird release and governance model in a way that allows both ongoing security and stability maintenance, as well as community-driven innovation and development. So we're not going to staff it, but if you want to fix it, you can." But you know what? I read more into this than that they don't want to do that anymore. It's almost people are saying who uses an email client anymore?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That was my first reaction to this story. Was like, wow, are there that few people, using email clients anymore? Because I still know people. I know. I have one friend that is all about Thunderbird. He still feels
it's
like
a great program.
Leave anything in the cloud. I want to download my stuff. I'll back it up myself. I'm not. I mean, I sort of. I'm all about Gmail. Gmail's.
Well, that's what I'm thinking is that, and in fact, I think they even mentioned this. People are just using the web interface to Gmail or Hotmail or Yahoo Mail, whatever they're using.
The other piece is, how do you make money from a mail client?
Well, yeah.
Unless you sell it up front, which Mozilla doesn't do. I mean, with Firefox, they make a ton of money from the Google search referrals.
Well, put a little of that into Thunderbird then.
Search, Google search and Thunderbird?
No. Put a little of the money they're making on it into Thunderbird. I don't know. I guess you're right. It's not a profitable enterprise. I don't know how you would make money on it. So,
but they could. I mean, it's an open source project. They could at least. I guess it's still hanging out there.
I presume it's still open, and if somebody wants to develop it, they can. Of course.
Wants to develop, they can. Yeah.
So, latest on the Galaxy Nexus ban. They were selling it, then they weren't. Now they're selling it again on play.google.com. This is because the app. So Apple went to court saying there are 4 patents that the Galaxy Nexus, and they've also did this with the Samsung Galaxy S3, violate. There's the slide to unlock patent. There's the tapping, they call it data tapping patent. That's what FOSS Patents, Florian Miller calls it, where if there's a link to an email or website or a phone number in an email, you could tap it and it will call the phone number or launch the browser. That's Apple apparently owns that. The big one, though, and the one that the judge kind of bought into, was this 604 patent that lets the user execute a search, goes out to multiple pages, looks for the results, and combines the results back into a single page. And really, I think that's the Siri thing. I think that's really what Apple's trying to protect, because Google, on both these phones, has this, Google voice search capability.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, anyway, the judge said, yeah, okay, that's the one. There's others, but that's the one. And we are going to issue an injunction that you cannot sell this phone in the U.S. Apple posted, or was going to post, or asked to post, $96 million bond to make that injunction in effect. And now the appeals court has said, Google appealed and said, wait a minute, we're going to look at this. So you can temporarily at least buy the Galaxy Nexus. This is a bitter fight. The court, however, said no, you can still ban the Galaxy Tab 10.1. So Google has put the Nexus back in. What do you guys think? I've talked enough about this on MacBreak Weekly and elsewhere. Let me give you guys. What about you, Jason? What do you think of this? Litigate, not innovate.
Yeah, I hate all this patent stuff. I do a daily email every day where I select the top stories of the day, and I almost always try to not select patent stories. It's like I don't even want to
talk about it. I agree.
Talk about it. Yeah, exactly.
But you have to, because here you go. Apple has effectively said no one can buy this phone in the United States. That seems to me, boy, that is a draconian solution.
It is. And I know somebody that came up to me, a good friend last week, and was saying, he actually told me about the story. He's like, I just heard about this patent ban thing. He's like, I need to buy the GSM version of the Nexus because I'm about to change jobs. And, I'm not going to be able to get it because of this, craziness. So I think that it really brings up two questions for me, the whole Galaxy Nexus thing. One is Apple still going thermonuclear on patents? Because Tim Cook has sort of soft pedaled some of this stuff and given the impression like he's not real crazy about all of the patent war stuff, and he doesn't. You sort of get the impression that he doesn't think it's all that good for Apple long term. But there are these sort of hound dog lawyers that Steve Jobs hired and said, go nuclear, and a lot of this stuff has been in motion. And is it just that, does Cook not crazy about it, or telling him not go after new stuff, and this is just residual cases that have been in the courts for a while? I'm just trying to figure out what Apple's stance is on this, the whole patent thing, and it's a little unclear to me. The other thing is that Google are they still this vulnerable? I guess this isn't Google, it's more Samsung.
Well, but it's ultimately, look, this is Android.
It's Android, right? Android's the problem here.
Yeah.
Is Google still this vulnerable? I mean, they bought Motorola. They've got all these patents from Motorola.
Which is, by the way, suing Apple.
Yes, which is suing Apple. And Motorola has just a wonderful patent collection. I mean, they've got great stuff in there. So it just brings up a lot of sort of sticky questions to me, is, where all of this stands. Is this sort of the last gasp of some of the stuff that was put in motion by Steve Jobs, or are these cases starting now to come to fruition, this sort of global thermonuclear war that, Jobs talked about that he was going to be doing with Android? And it's just, I don't know. It's unclear to me. Is this the beginning, or is this a last gasp of sort of some of that stuff that was in play? Maybe you guys have thoughts.
What's your thought, Mark?
On Tim Cook in particular, I don't get the impression that he's as religious about it as Steve Jobs was. Although in interviews he does say along the lines of we welcome competition. We just want people to invent their own stuff.
Come on, slide to unlock. Come on, really?
And now, is it even slide to unlock, or don't they use like the sort of like bubble that you move?
No, I mean, it's not the same. It doesn't say slide to, but it's, they're going to reissue the Nexus with a firmware update that they claim will get them off the hook on all of this stuff. Mike Elligan, we tried to get Mike on. I think he's out of town today. Wrote a piece for the Cult of Mac. He's talking about the boycott Apple movement, because that's one of the responses to this. In fact, it was a trending topic on Google Plus all last week. He says, by the way, who cares? These people weren't going to buy an Apple product anyway, and he's probably right. But he says the reality is Apple doesn't sue, or Apple's suing because they think they can win. They say this is what every company does when a company thinks it doesn't cost them much. They've got lawyers on retainer anyway. It's a few $1 million. Apple's been sued in the past by Nokia, which won. Nokia's suing Google and Asus. Microsoft got Motorola devices banned in the U.S. for infringing patents. Publicly held companies, he says, pursue their own interests and the interests of their shareholders. The truth is, patent lawsuits are trivially inexpensive for big companies to pursue compared with the potential benefits. There's no downside to suing over patent infringement if you think you might win. He basically says it's their fiduciary responsibility. They're a publicly held company. They got to sue. They have no choice. This isn't about nuclear warfare. It's just what companies do.
It doesn't really affect customers all that much, does it? I mean, the Nexus was unavailable for what, like 5 days?
Well, it could be unavailable again, right? You can't buy a Galaxy Tab 10
now, and then when it's not available on shelves for another 5-day period, then you won't.
It's funny because Apple tried to shut down the Galaxy S3, which would have been, I think, much more painful for both
came out
Samsung
pretty recently.
and for users. Yeah. It's a great phone. It's my phone. I love it. I would be very, very pissed off. And the judge said, well, you got to pick because I can't hear all these cases. So which one do you want me to go after? And Google or Apple said, oh, go after that one. And so they went after the Nexus. But had they gone after the S3, you might have heard a little howl, right?
But the S3 now, I mean, they did get Apple, right? They got it slowed up in customs.
Yeah.
And same thing with some of the HTC devices, which HTC is actually the one that's probably, I think HTC is in more danger than Samsung long term because they don't have as much.
JC Calhoun in our chat room said a great thing. Can you imagine the uproar if Google got an injunction banning the sale of an iPhone? Now what would you say?
Everybody's waiting for the iPhone 5 anyway.
What if Google, and then I'm sure Motorola is probably contemplating such a suit. What Mike's point is, and I think I do agree with him on this completely, he says this all diverts opposition from the real problem, which is a broken patent system. And this I think we'd all agree on. These suits are there perhaps for good reason, but they wouldn't be there at all if we didn't have software patents. We should not have them. There's a cost of $29 billion last year in direct costs. Patent trolls are killing innovation. It's the patent system that's broke. We should all be fighting that. Because every company, it's not just Apple, every company's suing every other company. You might as well just assume that. The Hipmunk, this is one that kills me. I love Hipmunk. You ever use Hipmunk?
Mm-hmm.
Great travel site. Nice guys. Good product. It's cute. They really bootstrapped this up. They just got $15 million in venture capital. The day after, a patent troll called I2Z Technology told Hipmunk it has to buy a license for a 1994 patent that covers a method for displaying data in multiple windows on the computer. It's a Texas shell company. It's run by a California lawyer. They've already gone after Kayak, Google, Yelp, and Microsoft. And they waited until Hipmunk got its venture capital. And then they said, oh, by the way. And it's cheaper just to pay these guys, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, this patent sounds a lot like the Apple patent that the judge liked in the case against Samsung, against the Nexus. A method and system for synchronizing the presentation from different but related sources in different windows of a computer display. You know what? Let's fight this.
I really hope there's more to it than that. Yeah, I mean, but...
There's not. This is the broken software patent system in a nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah.
And somebody told me, and I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but I was also told that getting a patent really isn't the key step. The key step is defending in court. That the way the patent inspectors act is, well, yeah, we'll give you a patent. And if it's no good, the courts will decide. They just but the default is, yeah, you got a patent. Go ahead and sue. The whole thing is set up for these kind of cases. Apple, by the way, has a patent. Did you know this on water detection? Water damage detection?
Oh, yeah, they have those sensors.
Yeah, you can look
the
in.
Headphone
when I brought
jack.
yeah, exactly. When I brought in my iPhone after I dipped it in water, I was smart. I said I dipped it in water. I did not deny it. I did not. The guy, I said I dipped it in water and it broke. And he gets his little flashlight, looks in the earphone thing, says, yeah, you dipped it in water. I was like, how did you know? There's a patent for that. Speaking, we'll do one more court case, then we're going to move on. We're going to be done with that. I agree with you, Jason. I don't even want to cover this stuff, except you have to because it is a huge problem.
Yep.
So Oracle sued Google over Java, lost. Now Google says, we want $4 million to cover our court costs. I hope they get it. I don't know. You shouldn't pick sides in this because who knows who's really right or whatever, right? The total bill includes $2.9 million spent copying documents. I'm not making this up. $2.9 million in Xerox fees.
That's a lot of intern hours.
97 million documents were deposed in this case. 97 million documents. I don't know. How much was the island?
At least 500 million.
Larry can afford a $4 million to cover Xerox, to cover the interns. Pay the interns.
Yes.
All right, we're going to take a break. Facebook shuts down, buys face.com, then shuts down the API. Thank you. Yahoo and Facebook have made a little deal. They're okay. Did you all see the new Twitter search? We'll talk about that. What else? I think they might finally have a CEO at Yahoo. Who was it said, no, I don't want it?
Jason Kilar from Hulu. He's like, no, thanks.
Hey, Jason, good news. You're on the official list of 2 people who might be the CEO of Yahoo. No. No. You don't understand. You could be the CEO of Yahoo.
I know.
Let me put it graciously. No. Okay. We'll talk more. First, I want to talk a little bit about Ford. Ford.com. Where's my Focus Electric? I'm buying one. I got to buy one of these. If you go to an EV certified Ford dealer, you could take a look. It's out. The 2012 Ford Focus Electric is out. And it is the sweetest. I've driven them now, and I just love it. And I really want this car. And now, what I'm really impressed with is Ford saying, look, we want to be a 21st century car company, right? We want to do things a little differently here. And so one of the things, they've just opened a Silicon Valley office for Ford because one of the things they want to do, they consider the car a platform for developers. So one of the things, they're reaching out to developers saying, look, we've got an API. This is a car with an API, and we want you to develop for it. And they've demonstrated this with their My Ford mobile app. This is almost like a demonstration of what you can do, and it's for the electric vehicles, the Ford Focus. The idea is you put this on your BlackBerry. I say BlackBerry because it's in there. I don't know if anybody has a BlackBerry. On your BlackBerry, your iPhone, or your Android phone. It has a website, the My Ford mobile website, but you can do things like find out. It tells you where your car is. It tells you what the charge state of the car is. You can tell the car, no, only charge at the off-peak prices. And it knows, it has an API for the utilities to tell I don't know if it's the app or the car, what their off-peak hours are. And then the car just knows, don't charge until then. You can do things like precondition the cabin temperature. You say, I want it to be 72 degrees when I go. They call them go times. When I'm ready to go, 9:30 in the morning tomorrow. And it will do that. And the reason they do that, by the way, is the electrics, you do it while you're plugged in. It's much more economical, right, to do that. Heat it or chill it. Now, in days like we're having in back east now, this would be a nice thing to say. I'm going to have the car be 60 degrees when I get in. I want it to be a refrigerator. I want it to be ice. I want to be shivering when I drive out of the garage. Wouldn't that be nice? I'm freezing. That would be nice. You could find out where the charging stations are. They have this like leaderboards. Who's saved the most CO2 this week? I think this is just great. Ford is really, they're really rethinking what a vehicle is, what it means, what your apps mean, and you can find out more. If you visit the website, Ford.com/technology, or better yet, take your smartphone, bring it to your EV certified Ford dealer, and say, I want to drive the Focus, but I also want the app on my phone because I want to try it out. And they'll do that for you. Ford.com/technology. This car is so green. Even the seats are made out of grass.
Really?
It's made with a fiber. The cloth seat fiber is produced from 100% recycled materials. The cushions are a bio-based form derived from plant seed oils.
Do you have to mow it?
You don't have to mow it. It smells very fresh.
All their stuff, they're really into using recyclable materials.
I know, I just love this.
In everything they do. I'll tell you something really interesting I learned about Ford. I actually have a series of, I was there the week before last, and I have a series of a 4-part series that I'm doing on their sort of what they're doing with technology that we're doing. And one of the really interesting things I learned from a sort of technical hacker kind of standpoint in their whole open platform thing is they have this open source open platform hardware thing that they do, where you can get a piece of equipment from Bug Labs and you can plug it into, the interface in your Ford vehicle, and it collects all the data, right?
Yeah.
It talks about how sharp you're turning, about how often you're braking, about all of that stuff. So you can take that, you can pull all the data from your vehicle, then you can connect it to your computer, and you can create your own apps and your own, program to analyze that data, to
awesome,
do your own stuff. I thought that was really cool from a geeky standpoint. That's a really sort of neat thing that they've done to partner up with Bug Labs so that you can you can do this kind of thing. I'm going to have that in one of the articles that I'm writing, is going to talk a little bit about that. And then I'm also talking about the fact that they really see themselves wisely, I think, not as just a car company, but as a personal mobility company. So they see themselves as not only about selling you a car, but connecting you to transportation and helping you visualize transportation. And, the fact that, especially in an urban area, you may be driving in the future and get an alert that, oh, up ahead, there's a really bad traffic situation. Pull over here, get on the train, and, take that the rest of the way to work, and then take this back, helping you sort of really, be smart about the ways you do this in the future. So there's some really cool stuff. That's sort of the last article in my series is going to be talking about some of that stuff.
Yeah, I talked to them about exactly that. They said, we can't think of ourselves as a car company. It's like the trains went out of business because they thought of themselves as in the train business. They were in the transportation business. Had they understood that, they could have survived. They really realized that. They were more than 100 years old. They really, and I have to say, sometimes you see companies pay lip service to things like eco-friendly. This is not lip service. I've talked to the very highest levels, at Ford.
Grass
they were
seeds.
really, not just grass. You know what? We went so we went to the Rouge plant, which is Henry Ford's original plant where they made the Model Ts. It's still working. And in fact, we went to the Ford F-150 assembly line. The roof is it's like a succulent or something. The roof is alive. And it keeps the place cooler in the summer and warmer in the. I mean, it is not just lip service. They're really kind of committed to this whole idea, and I think that's great. I think it's Bill Ford. You have to give Bill Ford credit.
It is Bill Ford, absolutely.
Yeah, he really cares about this stuff. It's like, I love seeing founders like Sergey Brin, who really, they care about this and they want to use their wealth and power not just to accumulate more wealth and power, but to kind of make the world maybe a little bit better place. You got to give Bill Gates credit. Look what he's done.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Huge credit.
Sergey really likes extreme sports.
I know. That was something. Wasn't that Google I.O. thing?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Greatest demo ever, right? Greatest demo in the
history. But you know that really, I'm sure the original plan was Sergey jumps out of a Zeppelin, lands on the roof, does the bicycle, rappels down.
Fireworks behind him.
Yeah, the whole thing was going to be Sergey, and then the insurance guys got to him and said, I don't think so.
No.
Sergey, you can watch at a safe distance. But he wanted to do. I mean, the whole thing makes more sense if Sergey Brin's doing it, carrying the glasses, right? That's the whole reason. So look at this one. And speaking of Google, I don't know how I feel about this. British Airways says we're going to Google you before you get on board. Not for security, but just so we can greet you by name. We can say, how are the kids? We can say, hey, how's that business trip going for you? It wants to deliver a more personal touch by researching passengers. They call it the Know Me program. It'll use Google Images to find pictures of passengers so that staff can approach them as they arrive at the terminal. Say, hello, Mr. Milian. Well, you're looking forward to going home. We loved that column you wrote about. Is that creepy or is that neat?
I mean, it's not all that advanced. I Google people before I'm going to a meeting or whatever.
Before you date a girl, don't you look her up online and see if she's got any priors?
Yeah,
I do.
Stalk her on Foursquare.
Joe Boswell, head of customer analysis at BA, says, we're essentially trying to recreate the feeling of recognition you get in a favorite restaurant when you're welcomed there. But in our case, it will be delivered by thousands of staff to millions of customers. This is just the start. The system has a myriad of possibilities for the future.
I don't really get the privacy concerns. It's a little annoying. I wouldn't really want to be harassed by a flight attendant.
Depends how they do it. But I like it. Maybe it's just me because I have a fragile ego. But I like it if they come up and say, oh, Mr. Laporte, how are you?
I loved your show.
Loved your show. Would you like a champagne cocktail? Maybe we could bump you up to first class because
they have the grass seats in first class.
They have grass seats, do they?
They probably do. I think it's it's funny, our natural reaction to this, just because coming out of us all growing up in a different world than the world that we're sort of in and living in now, right? Is to be like, ooh, that just sounds creepy, like you said, Leo. But I can imagine if somebody like, Jeff Jarvis or somebody was on here like, oh, get over it, right?
Well, exactly what Jeff was. So Nick Pickles, not his real name. Maybe it is. I don't know. He's director of privacy campaign group Big Brother Watch. Nick Pickles. That's why he doesn't want him to look up his name. He says, since when is buying a flight ticket meant giving your airline permission to start hunting for information about you on the internet?
When you're a reporter and you
It's
call up
publicly
the
available.
big, what is it, watchdog group,
Big
you
Brother
kinda
Watch.
know what quote you're going to get.
Hi,
from that
Nick
one.
Pickles here. Oh, yeah, let me give you a quote. I'll give you a quote. Yeah, gang.
This is outrageous.
Big Brother.
I mean, it could be nice, right? I mean, like you said, if they could say, hey, I mean, people have done this to me. I can tell when I go into me, like Mark's saying, where you can tell when people have Googled you and people have said like, hey, I thought that's really interesting. I've even gone into meetings where, I'll tell people, like, if we're going to dinner or something, I'll tell them like, that I'm vegan so that they don't, so that for just to be courteous. So I'm not, denying the stuff they're serving me and all of that. And they're like, oh yeah, it's fine. We saw it on, we looked you up on your site or on LinkedIn or whatever. And we noticed that. So we already were planning on it. And I'm like, I'm totally freaked out a little, but in the best way. It's like, that's really great that they took the time to do that. And so
if I Google you, am I going to see 10 links that Jason's a vegan? Like how is that showing
I
up
Googled
in your
Nick
results?
Pickles, and I found out now that he's a music photographer as well as director of Big Brother Watch. Huh? He likes tea and cakes, and he's from Durham. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If I run into Nick Pickles and I say, hey, I love your photography, I saw your stuff, it is, it's potentially creepy. You have to be careful. I do this all the time with people.
You do have to be creepy.
Yeah, you can't be too creepy like, oh, sure. Yeah, I've been stalking you. But you can say, hey, I've seen you. I know you. You're a great photographer. You could say that.
Yep.
I mean, it is public information that we're Googling here.
Yeah.
They say they mostly use it on captains of industry and high-profile travelers who'd be using first class anyway, so you don't have to worry. It's only like big shots.
You're
Russian mafia.
Captain of industry, Leo.
Captain of it. I'm a lieutenant colonel of industry. Yeah, I don't think there's any privacy issue here. I think it's kind of cool. I think actually this is good customer service.
It's not like they're trying to hack your email. I mean,
right.
They're just looking at, the public stuff that you said on Twitter or on your personal site or, you have out there on LinkedIn or wherever.
Right. All right, we're going to take a break. I do want to talk about DNS Changer because the FBI did something I've talked about this before. I don't want to go on and on, but I just think it was reprehensible. And tomorrow we will all reap the whirlwind created by the FBI. You guys, if you don't want to be involved in this, because I have people, so if I get an IRS audit, it's okay. But if you guys want to step back on this one, you can. I'll go after the FBI on this one. And then we'll talk more about Windows 8 because I want to know what you guys think. And the 32-year-old who talks to himself at the age of 12. But first, I had a caller. It was so sad. Last caller to the radio show today said, I had a virus, so we brought our stuff in. And the guy fixed it, but we got it back. There was nothing of our data on the computer. He said, what's a PST file? I said, what? He said, well, the guy backed up my PST file. I said, well, that's good. That's your Outlook. He said, but it only goes to 2008. I said, he said he backed up my data, but all he got was one file, my email file from 2008. I said, you didn't have any other backups? He said, no. I said, what are you, insane? Why would you bring in a broken computer if not have any backup at all? Anyway, unfortunately, I didn't get to mention Carbonite because we ran out of time, but let me mention it now. If you're not backing up, you need to back up, especially because the time comes you maybe have to bring a computer in. They don't give you your data back. Apple says that. I think any good computer store will say, hey, back up before you bring this in. Carbonite's great. Even if you're getting a new computer, let's say you are upgrading to Windows 8, no problem. You've been using Carbonite, you log into your Carbonite account on your new computer, you say, restore my data, it's all there. And it's so convenient, so easy. It's automatic, continuous internet backup, $59 a year for everything on on your personal computer. You're on a single hard drive. They have multiple hard drive accounts. They have business accounts. In fact, they have a very good small business account. Small business account, multiple computers, starts at $229 a year. The unlimited personal online backup, $59 a year per computer. That's less than $5 a month. So you can try it free. In fact, one of the reasons I think they do the home trial is great. It's 2 weeks free. And what it does is it gives you a chance to get that first backup set done. 2 weeks is enough. Depends on your bandwidth, but if you have normal bandwidth, 2 weeks is usually enough to back up all your data. And now it's just continuously keeping it up to date whenever you're online. It uses SSL, so you're secure. In fact, it supports strong encryption, and they don't have the password. Only you do, so you have complete privacy. If you want to try this free, just visit Carbonite.com. And where it says offer code down here, just use the word TWiT, T-W-I-T. You can try it free for 2 weeks. You don't need a credit card, just your email and password and the offer code TWiT. Risk-free. If you decide to buy, use TWiT again because you'll get 14 months for the price of 12. That is a very good deal. Carbonite.com. Secure, automatic, online backup starting at just $59 a month. Of course, I put it on every laptop. Laptops are the ones you really want this on. All right, let's see here. Let me show the Jeremiah video because it's cute. So Jeremiah, what do you know about this Chad? He's a filmmaker?
Yeah, he's a filmmaker, and apparently he found a video of himself when he was 12 talking to himself 20 years in the future.
See, now, this makes me kick myself, but we didn't have video when I was 12.
Like, why didn't I do this?
I could have drawn a picture of myself or something.
Right.
So here, see, 20 years ago he had a video. So here's, it says, 20 years ago I left a tape for myself.
I think I'd like to talk to myself in the future.
1992.
Yes, that's something that I'll do.
So I think this is really amazing. So fast forward 20 years to the age of 32. He's got that tape. It says, don't play until the future. Puts it in a VCR. Pours himself a drink.
Hi, Jeremiah.
Hello, Jeremiah.
You look different.
No.
Yes, I'm 12 years old. How old are you?
32.
Ah.
Yeah.
You look older.
Well, thank you. Older than 32, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, even better. Good.
Goes to show how much things have changed, yes.
It does.
Now look, my hair,
Right.
voice.
Okay.
Getting older, man. Getting older. Oh, yeah. Now, me, of the future?
Oh, is there more of this? I'm sorry.
So, how are things,
Okay. This is very unusual.
Yes, definitely. Quite cool, Here I am on the screen, and here you are. You're right there.
Over here, yeah.
Yes.
Is there anything in particular you wanted to know about?
As far as I can see, is Molly still alive?
Is Molly still alive? No. Dogs don't live that long.
Ah. And what about Leon?
Are all your questions going to be about pets?
Yes.
Well, then the answer is they're all dead. Why don't I ask you
Me question? You already know.
Well, yeah, but life before the internet's kind of a blur to me.
What? Think if I catch that?
The internet, it's a thing that you'll know what it is in a few years. It's going to completely take over your life. You're going to spend many hours sitting in a room staring at a screen.
I'm knowing about my own future. That's cool.
Well, I'm glad that pleases you. So, I can't... what do you do exactly?
You know what I'm like. You're me.
Yeah, but you must have hobbies.
I'll let you watch the rest of it. It's very, very good. Jeremiah McDonald. I don't think this is fake. I think it's real. It's just, he's a filmmaker, so maybe he got an actor, but I think that's pretty real. They talk about Doctor Who. Apparently he's still a fan after all those years. It's very cute. What do you guys think of the Google Q? You all excited about getting one of those?
I don't understand.
I don't either.
What? Did you go to I.O.? Did you?
I watched I.O., and then we got the Q, and apparently it doesn't work all that well. Great article, I have to say, regarding this by Matt Buchanan on the BuzzFeed, in which he says, it never gets better. And he says, look, we're all used to updates and stuff, and we always, when you buy something new, think, oh, it will get better. He says, no, it won't. If I would tell you one thing about buying technology, it's this. Buy something you like because you like what it is right now, not because it's going to get better or that one day it'll be what you really wanted it to be. He says it's like marrying somebody and thinking you'll change them and they'll get better. They might, but they probably won't. And over time, you'll hate them even more and yourself at least a little. He says the Google Q, it's incredibly tempting to think that since it's a quad-core processor, full-blown Android device inside a marketing campaign, that Google will unleash a software update that will magically make it worth $300. But it's not. I think he's right.
It's very well said. I say that it's funny, I actually say that a lot. Buy the product you want today.
Yeah.
Not like, don't buy it on, potential, or you think what this could really turn into something. Unless, obviously all of us, we buy stuff.
Well, we have to. That's what I got a piece of glass with the number 737 on it, because that's the Google glasses right to buy for $1,500 next year. But I have to. It's my job. I do it so you don't have to.
Exactly.
It's back there on the set there.
People should totally buy the technology as it is today. And this product is such a head scratcher. I mean,
it doesn't even work. Eli, it's back on the know-how set. It's on the underneath the big TV on the know-how set. It doesn't even work. A lot of people I've seen bought it and they said it stopped working after a week. So it's not.
Well, it doesn't do a whole lot to begin with.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
How would you even know? So yeah, but look, I paid $1,500 for this. So that's how crazy I am. This will never get better, by the way. This isn't even upgradable. It's just a piece of glass with a number.
That will never get better. You're exactly right.
Isn't that cool though? And we don't. They won't charge us $1,500 until later.
Yeah. The funny thing is, Google's almost like a public research company. There's lots of stuff that IBM and Microsoft and a lot of these other big companies that they do, and they just never see the light of day, right?
But Google just says, go ahead, try it. They did say you can hack it.
Yeah. I mean, they take stuff and create it, and it has you have no idea what you want to use with it or what it's like Google Buzz, right? Google Buzz. People went crazy about that, and I was just sitting there like, why would anybody want to ever?
Well, you were right.
It looks neat, but what would I ever want to do with? Who would I ever do this with, and for what reason? So they have all these things that they just keep pumping them out, right, and throwing them out there. Let's see if people like this stuff, even if we have no idea, who the target market is and what they would want to do with this product and that kind of thing. It's so opposite. It makes them so unique in a way, right? Because it's so opposite the traditional way that you run a company and that you do your research department and you do all of this. So in one sense, I sort of tip my hat to them because they're totally breaking the mold in the way that they're doing this stuff. And in the other, it's just kind of laughable to see all of the products that they put out to market. And I do worry at some level if it's going to hurt their brand. If, they put out 20 products and 19 of them are absolutely horrible. And every once in a while they have one
look
that's...
Look at Google Wave.
Yes.
There was a product that...
You've got a lot of
But this is hardware. And you look at it and you go, well, they wouldn't have released this if it didn't have some use. For $300?
I mean, it's also the opposite of how Larry Page, when he started, said he wanted to run the company. The other story on our list is how they just shut down a bunch of products.
Google.
They wanted to zero in and focus on something in particular. So I don't understand this at all.
It's just weird. I have to say, even we're watching the keynote and they said the price and it was like, well, that's dead on arrival. I don't understand what that is at all.
I mean, Google TV is this with more features and less expensive.
Right. I like Google TV. I have a Google TV. I used it last night.
I don't like Google
still
TV,
crap.
but it's this plus more for less money.
For less, right. You're right. It's still crap, but I love. Did you see this great picture of the European Parliament? Is it here? Yeah, there it is. So ACTA was voted upon by the EU Parliament. And they voted it down. And look at these pictures. Hello, democracy. Goodbye, ACTA. Gone. Hallelujah. These are parliament members. These are the people who voted on it, holding up these signs. Finally, ACTA was the treaty that was basically created by the U.S. content industry, motion picture, television, music, to, basically turn off the internet. If you're a pirate, 3 strikes, that's it. No more internet for you for the rest of your life.
It kind of restores your faith in humanity. You know, it's like you can fool some of the people some of the time, right? But you can't fool all the people all the time.
It kind of made me sad. I can't imagine the U.S. Congress having members of Congress holding up signs saying "Hello, democracy, goodbye, ACTA." I don't even think they know what ACTA is.
Congress is a circus all its own.
And I don't know if the EU Parliament is not a circus, but that's cool. They at least knew what they were voting on. Maybe these are the 5 members of the Pirate Party that are
I was
voting.
going to say that's a very small snippet. I think their democracy is just as messy and silly as ours sometimes.
Yeah. Of course, we didn't get to vote on the Congress didn't get to vote on ACTA in the U.S. because it's a treaty. The president just did it. Let's see. I had another couple of things I wanted to mention. Oh, this is good. Def Leppard. Remember them, kids? So they don't own the rights to their music, right? The record industry does. So so they don't get any of the money from the digital downloads. So what are they doing? They're re-recording their songs so they get the rights. Def Leppard, most famous for their 1987 hit "Pour Some Sugar on Me." Oh, I remember that.
Can they do that? I mean, they can do that. They can re-record them, and then the performances. But don't they have not have rights
Get
to
this.
the...
This is the loophole. So they've been negotiating with Universal Music, which owns the rights. They cannot get a suitable royalty for digital downloads. So instead, they're taking advantage of a law which protects cover versions from copyright claims. You can make a cover version of a song, and you're not violating copyright, right? So they're going
Holy crap! They're covering their own
covering their own songs and releasing them in iTunes. They describe them as forgeries. Joe Elliott says, our contract is such they can't do anything with our music without our permission, not a thing. So we sent him a letter saying, no matter what you want, you are going to get no as an answer, so don't ask. And we're going to make cover versions of our own songs.
How old are they now?
They must be 80, but that's good.
Yeah.
Pour some sugar on me.
That's a problem. You're right. They may not sound exactly the same. I love that. So Microsoft has announced that no matter what version of Windows you've ever used, $40 to upgrade to Windows 8. Is that low enough?
Yeah, that's a pretty good price.
But I mean, is it low enough for somebody to actually upgrade to Windows 8?
You know, the upgrade thing is sort of a...
Well, before you say that, the upgrade on Windows 8, according to Paul Thurrott, our Windows Weekly guy, is normally what you want to do is clean install. He said, no, it's really good on Windows 8. It's essentially a clean install. So an upgrade is not a bad thing to do. Windows 8 Pro is basically going to cost $40. Even if you still only have XP, you'll be able to download it from windows.com. You can add Windows Media Center from the Add Features option for free. Of course, if you get a new computer, it comes with it. But if you buy a computer between now and the release of Windows 8, $15. If you want packaging, $70. They have never had such a low price for Windows ever. $40.
Not in this country.
Is Microsoft saying we don't think 8's going to sell, so we better make it cheap? Or is it them saying we got to get everybody to go to 8? We're committed to this.
It's a little bit of that. It's certainly a little bit of it is them, knowing that this is a big gamble for them, right? Windows 8 is a huge gamble, maybe the biggest gamble that Windows has made since they were trying to get everybody over to Windows 2000, right? And that kind of bombed, and XP, so they sort of did XP, and XP caught on. So this is a big bet for them. So I applaud
It's a
them
gamble in the sense that a lot of their revenue comes from Windows, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's not going to change. It's just going to, on new computers is where they're going to, most of Windows 8's going to happen. So few people really do the upgrade, do upgrades. Consumers do upgrades in very, very small numbers.
Point.
They just get a new machine.
Right.
Now the enterprise does upgrades, obviously, and they make lots and lots of money on those. But you know, I think that they are realizing that they have to create some buzz around Windows 8, and they are wisely doing everything they can to do that. And this is one of those things that is helping them, you know, look like a company that really cares about consumers and is trying to get stuff out there at a real aggressive price for the people that do want to do upgrades, which is a lot of the technophile audience, which, you know, a lot of those folks are you know, kind of ambivalent about Windows right now. There's a lot that are still big on it, but you know, they will do some upgrades, and at $40 they'll be happy about it. Now, I do think, if I remember this right, that it's kind of time bombed, right? They're saying you can do it with by the end of within the first 4 months, or by the end of January 2013 or something. So they're basically saying that the price will go back up to what, $69.99 or
Still
something.
Still going to be cheap. And I wonder. I mean, I think that they reserve the right to do that, but I think if you know.
They may not. They may say that, right? And then when they get to January, they're like, oh, that's all right.
We're going to make it $30.
We're going to do it indefinitely.
Right.
I mean, they could have seen, you know, Apple keeps lowering the price of their upgrades and delivering them digitally. And at one of the last press conferences, Apple paraded out this percentage of people who had upgraded over what time period.
A lot of Apple users upgrade compared to Windows.
It's insane. Yeah, it's unprecedented.
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible that Microsoft saw this
Maybe they
trend.
want this model. Yeah.
Especially, you know, going back to your point that they want as many people on this because the app infrastructure is completely different. If they get, you know, millions of people using this right away, then developers will be compelled to develop for it. They'll get those apps that will also work on the tablet. This makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting.
Smart move. Smart move.
How do you guys feel about 8? You excited? I mean, I presume both of you have used the consumer preview by now.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
It's very risky.
Very, very risky. They're betting on one thing, really, ultimately, and that's sort of the convergence. They're going to bet that you don't want to buy a tablet and a laptop, and that you're going to want to do it. You're going to want to use their device, and so they're betting on convergence. And the thing is they're making a lot of compromises both ways because of that, even more so on the sort of traditional desktop side. But they also are making some compromises on the tablet side, right? Of certain things, certain even settings and apps, you have to go into the desktop version or the full desktop in order to run them. Like, this is the biggest mistake I think they're making, is not doing just a metroized app of Office. Making you, when you go to Office, you have to go into that sort of desktop environment to run it. And on a tablet, that's not going to be a good experience. Even on the iPad, I think Apple went way too much on Pages and all those their apps. They're too desktop-like. I don't want them. I end up using simpler word processors and stuff because it's too much. And so I think Microsoft's making the mistake almost even worse. And I think that could hurt them from the tablet side. And then on the desktop side, you know, having to navigate Metro to, you know, do your desktop stuff is really annoying. And they're betting that you're going to have this converged device, and, you know, during the daytime when you're working, you're going to use that sort of just standard Windows environment, and then at the nighttime you're going to sort of flip it back or just use the screen's going to pop out or whatever, and you're going to use Metro, and you know, it'll have all your data and everything and your apps on the same device. That's what they're betting on, and whether consumers accept that or not is going to have a lot to say about not only the future of Windows, but the future of Microsoft.
Ken from Chicago had an interesting point in our chat room. He said maybe what Microsoft's doing is is moving completely to the Apple model, where they'll do yearly upgrades at $30 or $40. And then, Jason, that kind of makes sense with what you're saying. I mean, I agree with you. Microsoft needs to be, and I've kind of thought that they were all in on this. They can't say, well, we're going to hedge our bets and have a little bit of desktop and a little bit of Metro. They need to really commit. Maybe if they're planning yearly upgrades, they're going to say 1 year and then the desktop's going to be gone. You know, I agree with you. I think that it's risky, but if you're going to do it, you have to go 100%. You can't hedge your bets. You have to say, we're committed.
I don't think Metro is all that great on a computer.
I don't think so either. But
no,
they're making that move.
I think they should still do two products, and this is what they don't want to do, and this is what I really think they should do, is I think they could still make a great Metro, just a tablet that runs Metro. I think that's a great idea.
That's Surface, and they're going to Windows RT. That's it. There's that one exception, which is Office. That's the only exception.
And they'll have a fix for that pretty soon.
I agree. Yeah.
But even a lot of the stuff that you do to configure stuff and maybe they'll fix this in the final version, but probably not, right? You go to configure things, a lot of the settings and stuff, and it like takes you into the desktop environment on a tablet, and it's just like
that's not good.
It's not a good experience, and I think people are going to be confused. I mean, trying to do your finger and like tap the little window to close something. Just simple things like that
I agree.
that are annoying are going to really turn off a lot of consumers. I think if they should just focus on a Metro tablet, and then they should still try to make their desktop OS solid. And there's still plenty of market for them to do that. But obviously, this is the bet they're making, and this is Windows is going to live or die on whether they're right in making this bet.
You willing to make a bet on what are they right? What's the reaction going to be in a couple of months when 8 comes out?
I think it's going to be pretty brutal for people that buy those tablets and then they go to try to configure something and they've got to tap that little X to close a window.
I can hear the howls already. Yep.
Right.
Try shutting down Windows 8 on the desktop. It's bizarre.
Yes. They're trying to make everybody happy, and they're going to tick off their power users on the desktop because you're trying to use Metro on that. And then the people that there's a lot of people that want to give Windows tablets a shot, and I think they will. But I think this sort of halfway in between factor could hurt them to the people that are ready to give them a chance to buy a Surface instead of an iPad.
What do you think?
The Windows curse is not in their favor. XP,
it's the every other one. Yeah. This is the Windows ME, XP, Vista.
It's true.
Vista.
It is the other.
Every other one.
Well, I don't know if I believe in that, but I do think that they are. I admire them for taking a huge chance.
I do too.
They bet the company on this, and I think that the closer we get, the more I'm worried. To be honest,
the Surface looks really cool. I don't like Metro all that much on the computers.
Last story, NBC and Google. I didn't know this. Of course, NBC is broadcasting the Olympics. I didn't know that Google will be doing the streaming. Makes sense, right? They're wargaming it because they expect disruptions, DDoS attacks, terrorism. So they are really... There's a good article in the CIO Journal of the Wall Street Journal on how they're preparing. They're staging war games to prepare for Olympic disruptions. I'm excited. I can't wait. This will be the most interneted Olympics ever, right? This is going to be right? How many? I would guess this will be the first time more people will watch online than watch on the television. Partly because of the time difference in the U.S.
That will be interesting to watch. You really think that's possible this year?
Of course, that's the fear. NBC's got to worry that they're going to cannibalized. They pay a lot of money.
Yeah,
they paid a lot of money, and they're doing more hours in the day of programming on Olympics than anyone else has in the past. I mean, they're going to be just wall-to-wall coverage of this.
In this article, they're saying that the streaming the online content actually created pre-air buzz and encouraged more people to watch the taped broadcast on television later.
Interesting. I think the cool thing about what they're doing this year is they're going back to the model of like it was. I don't know. You guys are probably old enough to have watched like the '84 Olympics when they were in the U.S. And I mean, they showed like every sport and every you got to see.
I loved those days.
I love that you got to see like all the semifinals and the early heats of races and swims and stuff like that. It was so awesome. And in the last few years, they've gone to this really feature model where they do like 50 minutes of story and then you get your 10 minutes of
I want the events race. And that's what the internet's going to give them. They are doing 3,500 hours of online events on YouTube. And Rick Cordella, the senior vice president for digital media and NBC, says, if there's a camera on it, we will stream it. They are effectively saying we will stream everything that we've got cameras for.
That's awesome. And you knew that future was coming at some point, right? Because they're recording everything.
They
They've been
know
doing
it
this for years.
They know it.
And
yeah,
absolutely.
NBC is hoping to beat online viewership. The Beijing Olympics drew 52 million uniques, 75.5 million video streams. Oh, I think they'll beat it handily this time.
Oh, they'll kill that.
It's going to be very interesting. I mean, that's 4 years ago. That's one of the things that's great about the Olympics. It really is, because it's 4 years, you can really see the world change.
Totally.
The Olympics and elections are both, presidential elections. You really see how campaign strategy, everything changes because it's 4 years and the internet goes a long way.
Obama's on Pinterest.
I don't get that, but they're thinking for the next 4 years, we're going to have blue in the Oval Office. I don't know.
Just looking to decorate.
Yeah, sure. Hey guys, I think we're done for the day. I want to thank you, Jason Hiner, for being here. Jason is. Oh, do we have the week ahead? We do have that. All right. Well, let me first, before we say goodbye to you guys, Tom Merritt has a look at what's coming up this week. What are going to be the big stories, Tom?
Hey, thanks, Leo. Here's a look at some of the things we'll be keeping an eye on Tech News Today and the week ahead. Of course, starting today, Sunday, July 8th, the Microsoft Worldwide Partner Conference kicks off. That'll be running all week. We'll see how many tiers are coming out of developers over the Microsoft Surface tablet. Monday, July 9th, the DNS Changer servers go off.
Forgot to mention that.
Check and make sure you don't have that malware or you're going to lose your internet connection. Tuesday, July 10th, the Samsung Galaxy S3 set to hit Verizon. Big Bang Theory Seasons 1 and 2 come to Blu-ray, and Mobile Beat Games Beat Conference kicks off in San Francisco. Thursday, July 12th, there's a rumor that the U.S. ISPs will start pestering people accused of copyright infringement as part of that multi-step graduated enforcement regime. That and more coming up on Tech News Today and the week ahead. Back to you.
I forgot to mention that Monday's DNS Changer Day.
And apparently Tom is a Big Bang Theory fan?
Yes, of course he is. In fact, I'm waiting. I don't understand the Higgs boson discovery, but I know that Sheldon will explain all in Big Bang Theory, and I'm waiting for that. That's when I will understand. I was reading a great article, actually, on The Atlantic. Was it The Atlantic? Somewhere. A scientist from Yale University who said this is the most important discovery of this century, the Higgs boson. The fact that they've confirmed the standard model is huge. Don't understand.
Wow.
So DNS Changer, if nobody who watches this show could possibly be affected by this, you can go to, I should mention, a public service. Go to dns-ok.us. Could they have gotten a worse name for this site? dns-ok.us. And if you have DNS Changer on your system, unless your internet service provider is actively protecting you, you will get a green if you don't have it, and you'll get a red. Now, if you do have it, and I love this, the FBI, so they put this together. Here's a link. For additional information regarding DNS Changer malware, visit the FBI's website. So let's click that link. What do we get? We get a press release from the FBI on how great they were when they arrested these guys in November. And here's a nice picture of the assistant director in charge of the New York office. Today, with a flip of a switch, the FBI and our partners dismantled the Rove criminal enterprise. This should have information about disinfecting your system.
Yeah.
This has a press release for the FBI on it. First of all, the FBI should never have left. So what happened is you all know this. In November, this malware had been going on. It was a gang in Estonia that had been doing it. Interpol and the FBI arrested these guys, threw them in jail. But instead of turning off the server that so what happens with DNS Changer is it changes your DNS settings so that instead of you using your normal DNS or your ISP's DNS, you use their server, and that gives them a chance to misdirect you to affiliate sites, make a little money on the site, put some different ads, whatever. But you got malware on your system. So the FBI arrests them. Instead of taking their malware server offline, as would normally be done, they said, no, we should keep this running for a while. So they kept it running, and they're going to turn it off on Monday. So for 6 months, 300,000 people apparently have been running malware and not known it. So tomorrow, your server, your website, you won't be able to get on the internet. So that's a sign you've been running malware. What does the FBI do? They redirect you to a press release, just in case you didn't know who did this fine thing to you. What is the story? I'm sorry. You guys I know you don't want to get an IRS audit, but I don't care. This is not how the government should be operating. They should have shut the servers down, or better yet, they should have kept the server up and put a big sign when you use your computer, you're infected, go get fixed, you nitwit. Instead, it silently continues to operate so that the malware can continue to run, do whatever else it wants to do to your system for 6 months, and then we'll break it. Is it just me?
Yeah, no, 6 months is a long time
They
to leave this hanging out
They
there.
could have, the day one, they could have put a sign up that said, you got a malware, go fix it.
Yep.
Your internet's not working for a reason. You've got a virus.
I agree. Not handled well. Not handled well. Should have been handled much better.
The Canadian DNS-OK.ca apparently has a fix on it. So you just don't use the US one. Let me just try it. Because apparently they don't. Yeah, see, this is better. It's in French and English. This is from CIRA, the Canadian Register. Wait a minute. I got to sign up for terms and agreements?
The malware check, to get the malware check.
To get the malware check. So it's no better. How does the checker work? Your computer system does not seem to be affected. Okay, they do have a link to a Public Safety Canada document that tells you more about
It looks like
this.
a press release to me.
You're right. Here's the FBI announcement. Here's the website about the malware suggestion. Finally, here we go. Go to the start menu, select run cmd.exe, type in the black command window ipconfig/all. Search for the line written DNS servers. Often 2 or 3 IP addresses are identified. Oh my God. Really?
Do they have a version of that press release in French?
I'm sure they do.
No. If you're on a Mac, you don't have to worry. Incredible.
Oh, that's right. It's only
It's only Windows. All right, that's enough. Jason Hiner, Tech Republic. It is because of you that I am considered by many the president of the internet. For this, I thank you. Every time I fly British Airways, they say, "Mr. President, welcome."
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you. You can follow him at techrepublic.com, but also on ZDNet and CNET and everywhere. Just, he's working everywhere.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Leo.
Good to have
Always
you.
enjoyed being
Really
here.
appreciate it. Do you ever come out this way, or you just stay in Louisville?
I do actually pretty regularly. I know I haven't been to the new studio. Next time I come, I'd love to come up as the new studio.
Come up. From Bloomberg Business Week, Mr. Mark Milian. Great to have you too, Mark.
Thanks, Leo.
How's the new job? You like it?
Loving it.
Yeah. You do great work. I have to say, Bloomberg does it right in every respect. They attribute. They give you email addresses for everybody who writes the article so you can respond.
I get some crazy stuff
through
that.
I bet you do. But it's this is a good journalistic enterprise, and I use them whenever I can, frankly, for these stories. You guys do a really, really good job.
Good.
Great investigative stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the last places that's funding really great investigative stuff.
Exactly. Thank you all for being here. A couple of notes. First of all, TNT is now on at 10 a.m. Pacific. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 1700 UTC, Monday through Friday. That's where you get your daily news fix. We moved it to an earlier time so that you can get it for your afternoon commute, and that seems to be working out pretty well. We do this show still at 3 p.m. Sundays, as we have for, since 2005. 7 years now. 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. 2200 UTC on twit.tv. We're so glad you could join us. Please come back again. And, of course, remember all the great shows all week long on twit.tv. You know what? Just leave it on. You never know. There's always something good going on. And you're right, Jeff. He says it was actually moved because Tom was sick of me running late. That's actually the real reason. I've just been... Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Another Twit is in the can. Thank you. Yay. Yay.
Nice golf clap.
Golf clap.